Hi, and welcome to the trade of the day for the 26th of November. My name's Tom. I'm a senior trading analyst here at Trend Signal. We've been teaching people to trade these markets since 2003, and we've had a really nice couple of trades that I want to go through, looking at making the best part of 430 pips in, believe it or not, about 12 to 13 minutes. So we took these trades on the open of the US30 and the NASDAQ yesterday. There's actually been a couple more impressive trades later on in the day that we can flick through if we get the time. But let me show you how we do this, and then we can talk a little bit at the moment about what's making the market so special and how you can look to trade this as well if you're so interested. So we have the open of the US market. Now, when we're trading these lower time frames, we wait for the price action generated by candles to hit these black arrows. They form essentially your last possible exit before you need to wait for a rotation, and then we get the new entry immediately afterwards. That's rule zero. There's then a 5-step process for essentially saying, okay, I'm looking for a trade. Is there anything worth taking in the first place? So let's go through that process. The arrow itself starts inside the bands that radiate from the center, inside this blue band above, which means that we're looking normally at a trade that's a little bit lower energy. Now, that is still true. We're still going to follow those rules, but this is a pretty volatile time to trade around 2:30 on the US Open. But we get it nonetheless, so we're going to follow the rules as written. We then have the short-term momentum indicators, the vector averages. They turn from green to red. We just need them lined up in the correct direction. We want to make sure the train is leaving the station before we hop on the train. And in which case they are. They're both double green, which is perfectly fine. We then need to wait for step 3, which is that the candle itself needs to close above the correct side's purple PE2 line. And there's some reasons we do this. To give you the short answer, essentially, if we have a slightly lower energy trade, we want to make sure it has some room to pull back on us without necessarily going under the resistance that forms in the middle of the market. In this case, we can go a little bit closer. Unfortunately, it does blow up the chart quite significantly when you get moves like this. You can see that we actually open the candle underneath, so we don't enter here. We wait for the momentum to be confirmed, and we enter at the top of this candle here. We are not interested in timing the absolute bottom of the market. We want to get in when it's safe and get out once we've got a couple of pips under our belts. Step 4, we need a positive R ratio. Nice and simple. Is this positive and green? If it is, we can trade. We hover over the candle. You can see it was 68, so we can. And finally, we need to respect the trend in this type of trade. We have a blue line in the middle of the screen, which changes to orange later on as we start to turn back over. This is another source of momentum. We just want to get as many streams lined up as possible so we can enter the trade safely and take something out of it without risking it kind of pulling back immediately. In which case, we enter the trade. So we get in here around about 4656569. And the total opportunity generated by the trade to the top of this peak here. Now, you're never going to time it perfectly, but if you can get half of it, 3/4 of it, or pretty close to it, then that's fantastic. As I say, that's about 238 pips worth of movements. And if you did get a little bit greedy, the market started to turn over, you wanted to see if it could push the high, and you come out automatically to the black arrows and you still take a profit. It's just not quite as impressive. The way we teach this as part of our coaching and the 10 hours of workshops we do on a weekly basis is we will trade this live, but we'll show you how we manage these trades properly as well. We're not looking at setting forgetting. We're looking at minimizing risk and maximizing return. And there is a process we do to go through that. So that's the US30 trade on the open. We can also look at the NASDAQ open. So if we go back to 230, you can see that we don't get the trade immediately on the open. It doesn't actually do much immediately before we get a really nice short movement and we go through the same process again. The candles come down and hit the arrow. We flip over, we're inside, so we respect the same rule set. I'll go through them quickly. Red vector averages lining up with the short. Candle position underneath the purple PE, this time on the open of the candle, not the close. We don't need a positive R ratio. Now, we don't use that on the NASDAQ, but I can tell you the market's wide enough. It nearly always is around the open. Quite a volatile market sometimes. And finally, we want the trend to be in our favor. It's orange supporting the sell side motion. And the same process again. We get our entry on the open of this candle at 24743.32. We then get the best possible move you could have taken, which was 193 pips, before we come back up. And just before, if you are getting too greedy and really holding on to these trades, I'll be honest with you, I don't know why you would. But if you did, you still come out in profit. The system protects you before you can look to re-enter the moves a little bit later on. Taking these trades together, it's 431 pips, give or take the fractions. And again, to put that into more context, because pips may not mean much to you, if you were trading at £3 per pip, that's 12.95.25, or just short of £1,300. But what makes this impressive is not the returns, it's the speed in which you can achieve this. So if we look at this NASDAQ trade, for example, we enter, so it's 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 14 minutes to the ultimate exit. The best position was achieved in under 10 minutes on the NASDAQ. And for the US30, similar kind of story. Okay, so we enter at the end. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8 minutes to the best opportunity, 10, 12, 14 before you exit the trade. So even if you don't take the entirety of that £1,300 sum, even if you take half of it, 15 minutes work, £700-800 in your pocket, I think it's a pretty enticing reason to want to trade this. And on that note, I mean, we're coming up to our Black Friday offers at Trend Signal. We've got them running until the close of Black Friday this week. There is a splash page. You've probably got some emails about this already, but I thought I'd mention it if you are looking at a good excuse to jump into the program. You can save over £2,000 on the Trend Signal Plus system at the moment. You can save £3,000 on Dynamic Trader. And we also do the Ultimate package. Now that comes with every single strategy we've released, all strategies going into the future, and contains double the number of one-to-one coaching and live room trading access. So for context, we normally do 6 months of access to our educational materials. The tools are yours for life, but as part of this offer, we're also doubling the length of that so you can get an entire year worth of professional trading coaching to make sure you get the most out of the program. If you've been missing out in 2025 at taking results, really there is no better point in the year to join us. For context, using Dynamic Trader, so far we've had about 100,000 pips worth of movements identified. And I will be clear, that's movements. That's not necessarily the result that we pulled out of the system through our active management, but the actual potential, if you were the perfect trader, 100,000 pips, look, even if you can capture a fifth of that or a quarter of that, can make a massive difference to your trading account. So if you are interested in joining us, give us a bell into the office, or you probably have an email like this already. Otherwise, there will be a live trading session today where we'll demonstrate how to trade these markets. We'll talk about the risk management, but more importantly, we'll take live trades the entire way through the session. Come along and join us. It's at 7 o'clock.